Jada Pinkett Smith is finally speaking out on Chris Rock dragging her in his Netflix special, and she's calling out Chris for being obsessed with her.
Oh, how I suffer, and no one suffers like me. And it was like all of that.
Yeah.
And bringing more suffering into my life in order to prove and to build on that martyrdom.
Chris Rock's new Netflix comedy special included an explosive segment about the infamous Oscars slap, and Chris slammed both Jada and Will Smith for practicing selective outrage, and he blamed Jada for starting the drama. However, Jada's now firing back at Chris, claiming that she had no part in the Oscars incident and that Chris has been obsessed with her for years. There's a lot of drama to unpack here, so let's jump right in.
That's the thing I realized.
Yeah.
It's always me.
Yeah.
It's always me.
On Saturday, March 4th, Chris Rock's highly anticipated comedy special titled Selective Outrage premiered on Netflix, reaching the streaming platform's top 10 after just one day of viewership. Chris finally addressed the 2022 Oscars incident in his special, and he blamed Jada Pinkett Smith for the ongoing feud between him and the Smiths. However, Jada's now clapped back at Chris and denied she had anything to do with the Oscars slap. But before we get into that, let's talk about what exactly Chris said in his special that touched a nerve with Jada. Chris's special premiered almost exactly 1 year after the 2022 Oscars slap incident, when Will Smith, seemingly offended by Chris Rock's joke about Jada's shaved head, marched on stage and slapped Chris on live TV.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me. Wow, dude.
During the past year, there's been a lot of debate in the media over the incident, with some people claiming the whole thing was staged, and others accusing Jada of instructing Will to slap Chris. Will, however, denied this, and 4 months after the incident, he posted a pre-recorded apology to Chris on his YouTube channel, claiming that Jada had nothing to do with his decision to slap Chris.
Chris, I apologize to you. My behavior was unacceptable, and I'm here whenever you're ready to talk. After Jada rolled her eyes, did she tell you to do something? No. It's like, I made a choice on my own, from my own experiences, from my history with Chris. Jada had nothing to do with it.
However, Chris is now shutting down this narrative that he has a personal problem with the Smiths, and he claimed in his Netflix special that it was actually Jada who started the feud back in 2016, after she unsuccessfully tried to convince Chris to boycott the Oscars. Chris started off this segment by joking about how hard Will slapped him. However, he also said he doesn't think of himself as a victim, and he seemingly threw shade at Jada's constant complaining in the media.
Y'all know what happened to me, getting smacked by Suge Smith. Everybody knows. Everybody fucking knows. Yes, it happened. I got smacked like a year ago. Fucking last week, I got smacked at the fucking Oscars by this motherfucker. And people like, did it hurt? It still hurts. I got summertime ringing in my ears. Drums, please. But I'm not a victim, baby. You will never see me on Oprah or Gayle crying. You will never see it. Never gonna happen. I couldn't believe it, and I love Men in Black. No. It's never gonna happen.
Chris then went on to accuse Will Smith of practicing selective outrage and claimed that Will picked an easy target to take out his anger over Jada's entanglement with August Alsina.
Will Smith practices selective outrage. Practices selective outrage. Because everybody knows what the happened. Everybody that really knows I had nothing to do with that. I didn't have any entanglements. I didn't. don't know and everybody knows, Wilson and his wife was f***ing her son's friend, okay? Now, I normally would not talk about this, but for some reason, these put that on the internet. I have no idea why two talented people would do something that f***ing low down. What the
Chris also mocked Jada's infamous 2020 episode of Red Table Talk when she interviewed Will about her entanglement, and he said Will was hurt by Jada's confession way more than he was hurt by that slap.
We all been cheated on. Everybody in here have been cheated on. None of us have ever been interviewed by the person that cheated on us on television. None of us. They're like, hey, I was sucking somebody else's. How did that make you feel? Why the f*** would you do that? She hurt him way more than he hurt me, okay?
Chris then pointed out something a lot of fans have been talking about since the Oscars slap, namely that Chris's G.I. Jane joke was totally harmless in comparison to what some other people in the public eye have said about Jada's entanglement, and yet Will chose to take out his frustration on Chris.
Everybody in the world called him a. I tried to call the motherfucker and give him my condolences. He didn't pick up for me. Everybody called that man a. Charlemagne called him a. The Breakfast Club called him a. And The View and The Talk and every rapper and the Drink Champs called him a. Everybody called him a. They called his wife a predator. Everybody called him a. Everybody. And who's he hit? Me. He knows he could be. That is some.
And then Chris directed his jokes at Jada, claiming that she instigated this drama back in 2016 when she and Will boycotted the Oscars.
She said he should quit because Will didn't get nominated for Concussion. What the What the So then I do some jokes about it. Who gives a That's how it is. She starts it, I finish it, okay? That's what the happened. Nobody's picking on this. She started this. Nobody was picking on her. Nobody was picking on her. She said, me, a grown-ass man should quit his job because her husband didn't get nominated for Concussion.
Chris also claimed that he never had a problem with Will. In fact, he said he was a fan of Will Smith his whole life. But his opinion of Will definitely changed after the Oscars slap.
I love Will Smith. My whole life I loved this thing. I saw him open up for Run DMC at the Nassau Coliseum. These made brand new funk. I love this. He made some great movies. I have rooted for Will Smith my whole life. I root for this motherfucker, okay? And now, I watch Emancipation just to see him get whooped. Got me rooting for Massa, okay? Hit him again, Massa! Hit him again! You missed the spot, Massa!
Chris concluded his segment by addressing people who wondered why he didn't retaliate after Will slapped him, and said he didn't do anything because he was raised better than that.
A lot of people go, Chris, how come you didn't do nothing back? How come you didn't do nothing back that night? Because I got parents. That's why. Because I was raised. Okay? I got parents. And you know what my parents taught me? Don't fight in front of white people.
As you can imagine, Chris's special caused a lot of mixed reactions online, and while critics haven't been kind to Chris, many fans are taking his side. People who are defending Chris have pointed out all the criticism about Chris's comedy is irrelevant because making bad jokes is not illegal. However, slapping someone is. One fan tweeted, "The bottom line is Will Smith committed a crime. Chris Rock did not. Period. You don't have to be a fan of either person. The law is the law. Jokes, even bad, tasteless ones, are protected under the First Amendment. A person, whether in public or private, is not. Grow up." Several comedians have also shown support for Chris, including Bill Bellamy, D.L. Hughley, and Leslie Jones. Bill Bellamy told TMZ that Chris had every right to express his pain in his special because that's literally his job as a comedian.
He was expressing his pain. I feel like he was embarrassed in front of everybody, and it was an unfortunate situation, and the only way he could address it was on stage, right? I mean, it's not like he's not going to go and, have an altercation with Will physically or anything like that. I think as a comedian, he used his power to get his voice across and how he felt about it. He said, he got a concussion from the situation, and he was embarrassed, and he didn't do anything for a whole year. So think about that. Like, he didn't even talk about it. He didn't even do anything for a whole year. So he sat on the situation. And I think, as an artist, he got an opportunity to say how he truly felt about it.
D.L. Hughley took to Instagram to respond to the backlash against Chris and said selective outrage was brilliantly executed. Hughley also pointed out that Chris stayed silent for a whole year while everyone else was talking about what happened to him. So now that he decides to address it on his time, people have the audacity to say he's bitter, why is he still talking about that, let it go. Or the best one, we've moved on. So you got to speak on it, but he can't? As for Leslie Jones, she responded to a fan on Instagram who accused Chris of setting a bad example and wrote, "Y'all forgot he got slapped in front of the world, his kids, his mama, peers, everyone. And he is a comedian. This is his way of expressing it. If he sang, he would write a song, because it's a painful thing that happened. You are hypocrites. Shut the F up and go sit down." But what about Will and Jada? How did they react to Chris's Netflix special? Well, in Will's case, a source close to the actor told Entertainment Tonight that Will hasn't watched the special, but after hearing from friends what Chris said, he felt, quote, hurt and embarrassed. And according to the same insider, Will also doesn't understand why Chris just won't let it go. As for Jada, she apparently had a much stronger reaction to selective outrage, and she's now accusing Chris of being obsessed with her. A source close to Jada exclusively revealed to People magazine how Jada feels about Chris's Netflix special, claiming that Chris has it all wrong because Jada had nothing to do with the Oscars slap. Jada has had no part in all of this other than being heckled, the source said. Chris is obsessed with her, and that's been going on for almost 30 years, the insider told People. Look where he chose to film his Netflix special, her hometown of Baltimore. Obsessed. The source also denied that Chris's issues with Jada started in 2016 when she boycotted the Oscars, claiming that Jada didn't ask Chris to boycott the event. Back in 2016, she helped start a movement with the Academy Awards by questioning why there are so few black members, and Chris took it to this, the source added. The insider also shared that Jada is shocked at how many times Chris called her the B word in his special, and added that Jada will tell her side of the story in her tell-all book that's set to come out later this year. As for fans' reactions to Jada's claims that Chris is obsessed with her, some of them are taking Jada's side and saying Chris has a long history of putting down black women, while others are accusing Jada of playing the victim and manipulating the situation. One Twitter user wrote, "I was dumb young when Chris Rock went on Oprah and asked if she had a weave and stuck his hands in her hair. I also remember him referring to Beyonce as Seabiscuit. He's been obsessed with Jada forever. He has an obsession with humbling black women in front of white audiences." However, another fan then fired back, saying, "Interesting, Jada has a narcissistic response to Chris's special, gaslighting all the way. Will Smith now wants Chris to move on when he has been begging for forgiveness to restore his public image. Jada called for a boycott. Google it." But let's hear your thoughts on this. Is Chris Rock really obsessed with Jada, or is Jada trying to gaslight everyone? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to check out this next video.